Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Washington, D.C., it's Quintessential Listening, Poetry Online Radio. QLPOR, as it's widely known, features a bevy of poets, spoken word artists, and live poetry readings with best-selling authors. Your host is Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I am Michael Anthony Ingram. My special guest tonight is LaVan Robertson, author of 8 books of poetry. All of these books are available on Amazon.com. I'd like to bring LaVan on. Hello, LaVan. How are you, sir? Hello, LaVan. Sometimes, as you know, there's technical difficulty. LaVan, what I'd like you to do is to call in on the number. All right, I know you're using the Direct Connect system, but call in on the telephone number, 646-787-1631. All right? Until he's able to do so, I'd like to play some music. All right, here we are. I think LaVan is with us now. I'll bring him on. Hello, LaVan.
Yes.
LaVan? Yes. How are you, sir? Hello. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you,
Welcome to the program. I'm quite well. Are you ready to begin this poetic journey?
Yes, I am.
All right. My first question to you, my friend, is what is poetry?
Poetry is the soul, the unconscious thought made into matter, of the unconscious thought of God, of pure, raw, unfiltered thought made into matter, put into expression in words.
Tell me what it is from your heart.
Poetry,
when you think about
to
poetry,
is self-reflection. It's a way of looking at oneself through your actions and going deep inside your soul and learning the mysteries, because God is a poet, and and everything that you see around you have a poetic justice and expression to it. So in order to really understand poetry, you have to have that third. You have to awaken that spiritual eye.
All right, very nice, very nice. Well, let me ask this question, my friend. Why is poetry important?
Poetry is important because it's one of the is one of the art form that's been around since man walked the earth. It's an expression of how you feel. It's an expression of how you feel towards the beauty of life.
Wow, very nice. I like that. The beauty of life. Let me ask this question. As you think about your body of work, you've written 8 books. What are some of the themes that you write about?
I write about social justice, love, self-awakening, laying in a pool of self-consciousness and letting your conscience soak up all that heavenly glory and that wisdom. So when you see things through your conscious eye, you're looking at it in an unconscionable way.
All right, very nice. Please share a poem.
Okay, here's a poem that I just written just before the show, and this is a social justice. This is a poem called "What the World Needs." Love is what the world needs now.
All right.
Violence, destruction, and unbearable heat spreading rapidly all over the globe. The citizens of the world are stuck in fear like deers in headlights as daily more darkness continues right before their eyes unfold as greedy mouths, hands, and forbidden desires are too exposed. From these and more issues we face as individuals and as a whole are manifested only to cause doubt, fear, to control the feeble minds and their precious souls. Where can you go? For there is no place to hide. The tensions and explosive behaviors are a byproduct of the psychological effects and nature of too much self-hatred and pride. Everyone and thing is so out of control, has more bloodshed on city streets in the form of mass shootings like raging waters flow. It seems like our violent past and history is repeating itself once again. Times are so bad that your loved ones, you have to hold them tight and express how much you love them. The political regime has no answers or viable solutions, or it's because of their thoughts or elsewhere, as told by their actions filled with propaganda pollution. The answer is quite simple as well as clear. Love is what the world needs more of now, and is very phenomenal, amazing, powerful, mystical, healing, and inspirational expression of goodwill among all, regardless of race, religion, color, or creed, unconditionally shared. And
wow. Peace. Wow. What inspires you to write that particular piece before the show?
I know your show. I know. Let me be honest. I was listening to your show, and the guests that you have are very powerful poets and expressionists and poetess. So I just want to be able to hold my own when I get in the ring of other great poets and other great artists. And I feel the social, you got inspiration all around. But right now, everybody's talking about problems, but they're not mentioning love. You know, everything that you hear, you don't mention. Love is like it's a lost cause. Like love is on an island by itself saying, here I am. And everybody's sailing past the island. Everybody's sailing past the island, going to their own island. You know what I mean? Like love is, I don't know what more can love do to get the attention of the world. So it's artists like us and your show, sir, that to bring the truth to light.
Well, I want to share with you. I just want you to be yourself, all right? And try your best not to compare yourself to anybody else, because this is your time. This is your time. This is your poetic journey, all right?
Yeah.
Sounds okay? All right.
Oh, yeah,
now,
yeah.
All right. How does a poem begin for you? With an idea, a form, or an image?
It's a thought. Now I was
right.
like, oh yeah. Now I hear something that, like, I heard how much violence is in the world with Ukraine, and then, you know, all the tensions about the different races, and you know, the mass shootings, the you know, the killings because of blacks because you're a certain race, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it said, like, you know, I'm used to love, but I now when I write my social justice, I don't want to be too hard because the answers is simple and clear, you know. But
right.
I think we have to repeat that. We have to repeat it every day so people can know that love is the answer. Like, really, it is.
Wow.
I mean,
all right. Very nice. Please share another poem.
okay, this one is more inspirational. In search of. Oh yeah. Let me go deep.
All right then.
Let me go deep. This is simplicity of formation. When floating into the depths and vastness of the unconsciousness, we are just raw, pure, unfiltered energy. We become matter when we cross into the consciousness of thought and manifest it into physical beauty of self. The more you reside in the sea of validation, the more of greatness you will know. The spiritual, mental, and physical expression of awakening and awareness is key to obtaining the divine wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the blueprint for creation. Within you lies the treasure of life in its simplicity of formation.
All right. You know what? I'd like you to share that again because you did go deep, and I want to understand it. All right. Share it one more time.
This is deep. And I'm explaining it to you afterwards, sir.
Yes. All right. That's fantastic.
Simplicity of formation. Formation is everything lined up perfectly or in a certain setting.
All right.
When floating into the depths and vastness of the unconsciousness, we are just raw, pure, unfiltered energy. We become matter when we cross into the unconsciousness of thought and manifest it into physical beauty of self. The more you reside in the sea of validation, the more of greatness you will know. The spiritual, mental, and physical expression of awakening and awareness is key in obtaining the divine wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the blueprint for creation. Within you lies the treasure of life in the simplicity of formation.
Wow. You know, I got it the second time. That's why it's often important to read a poem more than once for clarification and understanding. So share why you wrote that piece.
That piece. Now, I'm thinking that when God was the creator. Now, when the creator was creating everything, and he had a thought in his head. I don't know. I wasn't there around. I'm assuming that God had a thought like, man. And so before that thought, before we became matter, we was in his unconsciousness. Through the unconsciousness, and he's taking it around like, man, how I'm going to make this? And then the conscious came in and said, I'm going to make man in my image. That's simple. You know what I mean? I could have made man anything else, but I'm going to make man in my image. So through his unconscious, and he's figuring out like how I'm going to make it. Then the conscious came to him and said, oh, I'm going to make man in my image. So from that thought, from God's thought, of the unconscious through the conscious, we were made in the form of physical beauty, of his physical self of beauty. So I'm thinking here, like, that's where all things are formulated from, the unconscious, and then you make it a conscious effort to bring it into a physical light.
Wow. I like that theory. Let me ask you a question. Let's go back in your history, all right?
Yes.
What was an early experience where you learned that poetic language had power? An early experience.
When I really knew, I always had the gift, sir, but when I really realized that it had power is when I was in Old Brook High School, right? I guess I was 15 or 16, and that's when I realized I had the gift. And so one of my instructors knew Sonia Sanchez, the poet Sonia Sanchez, and had set up a meeting with one-on-one with me and Sonia Sanchez. I didn't realize how big she was because I didn't realize. I thought it was just, I'm in my teens, so, I don't really take that seriously. But when they said we hooked you up with Sonia Sanchez, and when Sonia Sanchez was impressed, and I knew, because when she said, Larry, whatever you do, stand tall in your blackness. And I couldn't understand back then, like, stand tall in my blackness. Then I read some of her work, and I realized that she was representative of her race, of the greatness of our race throughout history, even then. And I didn't realize that when she said, your blackness is great, Larry. You stand tall in that, and you're good to go. But I didn't realize that until then. And that's when I realized, sir, that poetry had power.
Wow. That's a beautiful story. Stand tall in your blackness. Wow.
Yes, that's what she said.
I like that.
She wrote down, and I'll never forget that. If I was to see her, and God, that's what through God's will, I would remember her. I would tell her that I remember the quote that stuck with me, tall in your blackness, and validated when I read her poetry and read that she was a part of the Harlem Renaissance and everything else. I was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, damn, this got power.
Well, with that, knowing that you are a fan of Sonia Sanchez, I'm getting it wrong.
Yes.
All great writers have great writing influences. Who are some of yours? That's what I want to know. Who are some of your great writing influences in addition to Miss Sanchez?
Well, of course, Sonia Sanchez, Langston Hughes, Gwendolyn Brooks. There's so many. Nikki Giovanni, Angela Davis, Maya Angelou. So many that has affected me in the sense of standing tall in the blackness. I saw how they went through, their convictions of being who they are and not selling out or not giving away their blackness for free. Literally.
Right. Very
and
nice.
Stand tall on the convictions. And I realized that, when you stand tall, even, in your poetry and your writing, you're going to be attacked. But I saw that the way that they were attacked and the way that they were for being themselves and expressing their freedom of speech through poetry and activism through poetry, I realized that they paved the road for gentlemen and such other poets of myself.
Well stated, my friend. Well stated. So if you had to choose one of those people as your personal mentor, who would it be?
Of course, brother. Of course, brother Langston Hughes.
All right, tell me why.
Because he the way that he wrote, the way that he came up through regular jobs back in the days where black men were considered boys. And if you ever read some of his poetry, he referenced a lot of that back then of how black men were treated as boys or second class, and despite and he was light skinned, so that he had a double whammy.
Right.
How he made it through all those times, and how he used writing and the simplicity of writing to tell the American story. So a lot of people can relate to his poetry because of what he went through and how he brought it out, how he brought times out, the intricacies of what a black man goes through in the time of America at that time, but using poetry has his way of rebelling against the system in an artistic way, not in a way in which they would have taken you out, like with guns blasted and all that, and you're a public enemy number one. So he used poetry to his advantage to bring truth to social injustices what men of color had to go through.
Wow. Please share a poem.
Okay, this one is going to be deep too.
All right.
I like to deal with the heart and soul.
All right.
Word of pure and divine thought. In the garden of life's varieties of succulent fruits, I fully engage in partability of the sweet, tasting nectar and intoxicating elixir that stimulates the spiritual, mental, and physical nature of the precious soul. The more I freely partake of its nourishment, the more of my existence and self-beauty is exposed. I dip my wholeness in this refreshing, therapeutic, and calming waters, which expand the boundaries of my unconsciousness to total freedom of expression and of intimacy of raw interpretation. As I become one with the universal alignment and into the transitioning of the eternal flame of life, I return to whence I was first fearfully conceived and manifested from the word of pure and divine thought.
When you're writing, who are you having a conversation with when you're writing?
I write to God. Now look,
okay.
I don't want to sound too presumptuous or over the top, but when I write poetry, I want it so that God hears and He's pleased. That if I was in heaven among the other great poets and give them their right, I want God to put me in the lineup for a poetry reader in heaven. You know what I mean? I want him to say, I want that guy Larry Richardson, that guy LaVan Robinson in a poetry reader with the other greats. That's how I write.
That's nice. That's nice, man. Let's imagine for a moment that a poem is like a cake, all right? It's like a cake.
Yes.
What would be some of the ingredients that you would put into that cake to make it a poem?
I would put sweat, tears, and blood. Sweat from the toiling of your soul to get your soul from the negative psychological damage that's been done for the world and for history, telling us that we're not great and we're not equal.
Yes.
The tears of all the people that stood up, knowing the truth, knowing that we were shrouded and showered with lies to consider ourselves less. Blood is to be written to a proclamation to say, hey, I am that I am. I am a man, and I am what you see, what God made in front of you, and nothing more, nothing less. And I'm ready to write that in proclamation in blood if I have to.
Wow. That's extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. Let's take a brief break, and we'll be right back. I am here with LaVan Robinson. I have a question for you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Do you
I'm
think
ready,
you were meant to be? Do you think you were meant to be a poet?
I look, out of all the jobs that now know it or not, now in your physical form and in your conscious mind, you're not going to remember heaven. You're not going to remember where you came from until you're in a spiritual form, and this is all this physical burden is lifting off of you. Then you realize that you're going back home to heaven where you came from. So when God said, Larry, of all the jobs that you want, I said poet. I said a poet because I saw David and them, writing poetry and telling how much he adored God in such a way that God was offended. I said, maybe I wanted to do that. You know what I mean? So I chose poetry. I would say poetry chose me. It wasn't because I couldn't write anything, but I realized that poetry said, hey, we need more conscious brothers, and if the journey may not be easy, Larry, you may not get that instant fame, but you stay true to your blackness, you will be heard.
Wow, so true. What surprises you most about being a poet?
Look, when I go up to a person and say, hey, I got something to tell you, and they look at me like, what the? Like expecting something bad, and I spread poetry to them, and they just stay there like pillar of salt, and they look at me and say, and they mesmerize, and they get that feeling like, damn, you know what I mean? And seeing their expression on their face, and knowing that you said something that they never heard, that they never expected, and it touches the soul. That's the feeling I get. There's nothing more. There's no greater feeling than taking a soul that you don't know, wretched or not, and building them up through the words of poetry. There's no greater gift than that.
Mm-hmm. Question for you. How has your idea of what poetry is changed since you began writing poetry?
Because, you can write about the trees, you can write about the beauty that you see, and that's what I was doing. But then the more I got older, and the more I saw that we're in the embodiment of God. The earth and the heavens are the embodiment of God, which means God is ever so big that our minds can't even fathom how large his embodiment is. So the more I'm in an embodiment of God, the more I become more of the embodiment. So when I write, I try to bring people closer to that embodiment, because we see the physical form, but being inside the embodiment of God, the soul of God, and the inside of God, you experience. I look, I still have yet to find words to explain what the being an embodiment of God. I'm just touching the surface. So I just want my poetry has changed because I want people to experience and see what I see.
All right. With that in mind, does writing energize or exhaust you?
Oh, yeah. No, I could never get tired of writing.
Oh, I know.
I just try to find different subjects, not to repeat. Oh, yeah, sorry that. But I could never get tired of writing. No, that's my livelihood. I just want to be able to touch on. So look, sir, when I leave here, I just want to leave an embodiment of poetry that people could go to and say, wow, that's nice, that's good. I tried the other way and a negative way, and I don't want to leave a legacy of negative. You know what I mean? In my past, that's the past. So my future is I want to leave embodiment. When I'm representing poetry and I'm standing up there, I want to make sure that I give poetry the props that it gave me, the freedom that it gave me to reinvent myself.
As you think about all of that, what is the most difficult part of your artistic process? And the easiest part, too. I want to know that, too.
Try not to write so much.
Okay.
I can't stop. Once I start, I can't stop writing. The difficult part is when friends tell me, Larry, you need to take a break. Stop writing. I can't. I can't. I can't. Even my publisher said, Larry, you got 8 books out. I know you write enough so we can write a book every month, but you got to focus on what you have. And I feel like when I got more to give, if a man can't give away nothing for free, he definitely can't sell nothing. And that's the whole point. That's how I look at it.
Some of the titles of your book, I'm going to share some of the titles. One that you co-wrote with Teresa James, who's been on this show. Poetic Ecstasy, Stimulating the Heart and Soul, Cries of a Society, Lala Speaks with Lisa Tomei, Hard-Pressed Favors of Society Through the Eyes of Humanity, Songs of Lala with Lisa Tomei, the poet, Love's Anticipation, Lala Seeks, with Lisa Tomei, Silver Linings, Reflections of Life and Hope Through Poetry. Wow. Again with Ms. Tomei, Love's Rhapsody, Poems of Lala. Wow. What I'd like to know, I'd like to know so much. Because you've written these poems. Here we go.
I met Lisa Tomei through posting on a Facebook group. Now, when I write poetry, I post it on Facebook group because you get the Facebook poetry groups, you get instant feedback. Now, that's what I like. I like the instant feedback because that keeps me inspired when I feel. I take criticism just as much as anyone else, but like I said, I like the instant feedback, and she was one that said, and from there we talked, and then, without her, I wouldn't have most of my books, except for 2 that I did with Teresa James. So, we built a relationship, and we was putting books out between 2020 to 2022, 8 books. So, I have been, spilling books out more than normal authors, but I have so much to say, and I feel that, you got to capture lightning by, in a bottle while you can.
Wow. I like the way you phrase that. My question to you is, does knowing that your poems are published and out there in the world validate your being a poet, or are you content knowing they're out of your system?
I'm validated to be a poet. I tell people that I'm a poet, and they be like, "You are?" Like really? I mean, if you know the history of poetry, poets been around from the beginning of time. They served in castles with kings and queens and had power to affect decisions when it came to the way humanity ought to be or act or they had say in the societal structure of humanity. So poetry, like and a lot of poets back in the day stood up for their convictions and got their heads chopped off. So yeah, poetry is powerful, and I tell people that you met a real live poet, not the dead ones, but a real live poet. And if they want a validation, I spread poetry too quickly. So I don't care I don't even care where I do it. As long as I'm able to share it, I'm happy, and I validate myself with that.
All right. Please share another poem.
Oh, it's going to be deep again.
All right. I'll brace myself.
Today. This is today. The day in the life of you is based on only one day, and that's today. When the sun sets on your today, you will be remembered by the positivity or negativity you inputted spiritually, mentally, and physically in your today along the journey's way. As far as it's concerned, there is no tomorrow, only the precious moments of your today. So embrace the beautification of creativity that has been blessed and bestowed upon all in a most humblest and grateful way. You're the individuality of the purpose of your today, so make the most of it and gladly spread, share, and shine in the renewal, awakening, and awareness of the powerful assistance of love and the now of your today.
Wow. Let me sit with that one a moment, all right?
I can read it.
No, I got you. I just want to sit with it so I can just allow it to soak through my body. But my question is, my friend, my question is, now you've written a number of books, and editing is a part of the process. Some poets claim that a poem is like a living creature. Once it's out there, there's not much you can do to correct or improve it, while others edit meticulously, not leaving much on the original draft form. What is your take on the editing process?
Once it's out, it's in its rawest form, and once it's out there, I have a way of speaking high. Now, how my high changes is how the person, when I put a whisper out in the world, and among a whisper of "I love you" among all this hatred and this all the noise, that how a person perceives that. How a person perceives that, interprets that, gives it life and shape. So it's always when I love you going through 10 different people is interpreted and shaped in a whole different fashion. So when it comes back into you, it comes back in its rawest form.
Wow. I had an opportunity to look through some of your work online, and your titles of your poems are very tantalizing, strong titles. What role should a title play for a poem?
You want your title to draw people in. You want, life is simple. We could just write it. We could write like what got me about the simplicity is when Langston Hughes wrote books about a guy named Simple. A guy named Simple, and he wasn't educated. He wasn't the handsomest guy, but the simplicity of his assistance was enough to make Lester Hughes think. And life is really simple. So I try to come up with things that are intriguing, complex, but in all formality is as simplistic as I love you.
Wow.
And that says a lot.
It does say a lot. It really does. I guess I was going to ask you that poets hail from all over the world. Where do you hail from?
I hail from the hood. Okay. I come from Philadelphia, PA. And,
all right.
And what scarred me is that I wasn't foster care went through the system. Me, my initial brothers and sisters, so we had a taste of the system at its rawest form back in the early 70s, before they had all this these checks and balances. You know what I mean? So
all right.
we had to grow up. We had to grow up pretty much without parents in the system, that are known to us like uncharted waters, and that helped shape, that, because I could deal with somebody feeling ostracized in a world that, if your parents not around, how you could feel. So that kind of shaped my that negatively. I was acting out, and I didn't realize how God blessed me. I didn't see the real true blessing in it. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
under the circumstances.
Wow. Life can be so tough in so many different ways. There are the ups and downs, the ins and outs, the round and abouts. What I want to know from you, my friend, what is the role of a poet in modern day society?
To be a voice of the voiceless, to be a voice of those who still lost in the propaganda of lies, to allow them to be, let's just say, to be the shield between them and the humanity, and their souls from being damned to hell, in which I can't even imagine that. But we're the defense. It's not the first defense of humanity, of the ones that can't express themselves in a way to ask for what they want.
As we've been on this journey, you've really come alive. So what I want to know is, what is the relationship between your speaking voice and your written voice?
Well, my real voice is what I'm talking now. When I do have a voice of the 8-year-old that come out every now and then, of that child that's there, and I got to get, because at that time I had to grow up. Even though I was 8 years old, I had to take responsibilities as a man, and I didn't even know what it was back then. I had to grow up quick. I didn't have a childhood because of that situation with foster care and all that being taken away from your parents at an early age. So, and being in shark-filled waters with predators and everything else. So, my voice is down, but I get more energized as I talk about poetry and be able to and be myself and express my true thoughts. And and not to offend anyone, these are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. But I like to share. I like to put them out there in the sea of thoughts and see if how they handle themselves among the other thoughts. and that's all it is. Life is a sea of thoughts, and some are raised to a height which they shouldn't be. But if you have something to say and you ordain and you believe in your blackness or yourself, then your time will. I would say every dog has his day. Let's just say that.
All right.
Every poet will have his day.
A number of years ago, I worked with a young girl. She was 10 years old, and I asked her, "How old do you feel?" And she said 25. 25, and she was 10 years old. Why do you think she said that, LaVan? Why do you think she said that?
I think that what she went through, and your spirit is old. Despite. I want people to grasp this, because I'm gonna say it slowly. Your spirit has old, has the spirit when man was first manifested. The only thing changed is the physical form. The spirit didn't change. The spirit of man has always been the same from the first time God said, "Rise," and breathe His power into man. That hasn't changed. The spirit hasn't changed. What changed is the physical form of man. And so when you look at the spirit, we're all nothing but energy, a ball of energy, and life gives you clues of what we are. But if you're not attuned to or synchronized to the Heavenly Father or the consciousness of God when He speaks to us, whether we meditating or a moment where everything just don't matter no more and you just in that zone, and if you don't really take advantage of that, you're going to miss all that heavenly glory.
Wow. Let's take a brief break, and we'll be right back.
Yes.
All right. I am Michael Anthony Ingram. I'm here with LaVan Robertson. Please share a poem.
The subconscious. I did talk about the embodiment of divinity. So this is within the embodiment of divinity. We are all created and manifested by the powerful nature of expressism through divinity. Life is the breath from the unconsciousness of greatness and purity. While in the embodiment of the soul of the Creator, we are privileged to experience the spiritual, mental, and physical beauty of His artistic imagination. In the rawness of suspended animation, we are truly enlightened and blessed as we are delighted to see the soul's humble performance and rendition of its redemption.
Reread that one for me.
Okay. Within the embodiment of divinity, we are all created and manifested by the powerful nature of expressionism through divinity. Life is the breath from the unconsciousness of greatness and purity. While in the embodiment of the soul of the Creator, we are privileged to experience the spiritual, mental, and physical beauty of His artistic imagination. In the rawness of suspended animation, we are truly delighted and blessed as we are enlightened to see the soul's humble performance and rendition of His redemption.
As you think about your work, what do you hope readers get from encountering your poems? What do you want them to find out? What do you want them to see, understand?
That the mysteries of life, the mysteries in life, and all this madness. There's a method to the madness, and the mysteries of life. That the things that make you say are the answers within the answers are within you.
You know, I won't ask you how many poems have you written, but I would like to know. Has a poem ever frightened or humbled you that you've written?
It humbles me because I'm digging into uncharted territory, and I've read a lot of poems, and I read other people's works, and people are always looking for a spiritual highness, the higher dimension of spiritualness. And as a poet, I'm willing to go into that zone, you know. And every time I go into that zone, it changes me for the better because I come out more. And I ask God for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And the only way you can do that is if you go outside the zone.
All right.
Go into uncharted territory that you may be on an island by yourself, but the joy of what God is showering you, the manna from heaven, is enough to say, hey, you can pass by this island anytime. I'm good.
You know, we're almost at the end of our journey, but I would like you to share one more poem before we go.
Okay, sir. Okay. It's simplification of life. It's simplification of life. As you daily walk the road where the broken bones of existence now lay as the residual dust of this fragile foundation, you'll see the once skeletal remains of live, vibrant dreams of validity that got suddenly and tragically lost in a vortex of dark translation. Although it's a terrible sight to see and behold, you can only imagine the screams and cries of their precious souls. Despite this, you got to keep pushing forward, even though you may want to lay your body down without any hesitation or thought. The divine strength and light within you is the source of peace that can be neither sold or for anything in this world bought. The road of the less traveled isn't an easy one to traverse. There lies the many evils and temptations that will lead, and only mission is to see you die of hunger and thirst. Seek ye the food of the spiritual, mental, and physical beauty of self, freely partaking from this natural source of goodness is a true and simplification of life meanings of wealth.
LaVan, what advice would you give to an aspiring poet? Someone new, someone fresh. What advice would you give them?
Stand tall of yourself and your blackness. The same advice that Sonia Sanchez gave me that I still live by. Stand. You don't have to be black. Color doesn't matter. But at that time, I am a black man, and I said, whatever you are, stand tall in your whoever you are. Stand tall in that. Stand tall. The tree doesn't have no regrets standing tall and towering over everything. A tree, you say, hey, this is what I am. And a tree may fall, but hey, it's standing tall, hasn't fall. So you know what I mean? So you have to stand tall in your validity and of self. And I would tell a person, despite life challenges, you are the answers that you seek to overcome them lies into your bark, lies under that bark of your tree.
Wow.
It really does.
Where can readers find your work?
I would say you can find it on Amazon. You can find it anywhere where good poetry books are sold. Amazon, e-Kindle books now, Walmart. It's everywhere. You just search LaVan Robinson, and you're going to see me pop up. And feel free to share. Feel free to check the books out, because it's a light. I want you to be enlightening to what I know. What I know that God is saying, Larry, share. Be free. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the fame. Don't worry about that. You share, and I got you. You know what I mean? I take care of the birds. I take care of you too. And so far, I share what I have, and it's like God speaking through poetry, and I'm willing to write it down as soon as I get it.
Right. How can readers stay in touch with you?
Well, they could. I got an email, writer, WRITER7668 @yahoo.com. You can go on Instagram, Lala the Poet on Instagram. You got LaVan Robinson on Facebook. I'm out there.
Yeah, see?
You can find.
All right. What's next for you, my friend? Where do you go from here with your writing?
I'm working on short stories and plays, and movie scripts. And I'm doing short stories in the form of how Langston Hughes did Simple. But I'm talking about the daily adventures of a black man growing up in America with all these, my thoughts of how I deal with things eternally, not physically or outwardly, and expressing my actions in a negative way, but how I have to take all these things and most of the time being alone just to have things sink in, and how it eternally affects me and my spiritual.
Wow. How are you feeling now? We're at the end of our journey. How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling like you gave me an opportunity to express myself, and I feel more free, more confident in myself, that I'm on the right journey of awakening, of waking spirits up and getting awake. Because there's death, but the worst death that a person can have is the death of a spirit that's still while you're still in the embodiment of your physical. That's worse than dust in a bottle. Useless.
Wow. I was going to say, well, sir, I want to thank you for spending time with me tonight.
Thank you.
I think you're an incredible man, and you truly stand tall in your blackness. Did you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Every time I write a new poem, I had to skip you because you said don't overwhelm. So I do got problems.
Yeah, don't send me no more. You sending poems to me every day. Don't send me no more. I never had a chance to read one before you send me another.
I put them on the top. You know what I mean?
Okay. Take a little break.
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will. But do send me one this week, though. Send me one this week. Send me one a week. I'd like that. One a week. Okay.
That'll work. 'Cause I write every day.
Not every day. Not every day. Just one a week.
Well, thank you. I'm
honored
to be on your show, and it's brothers like you that gives the up and coming artists a voice. And it's like we're all a family. We're all a tree, and the tree could only go up. You know what I mean? Trees only meant to go up.
Well, my friend, I feel like you are my new brother in the spirit. I really thoroughly enjoyed myself. I wish you nothing but the best in your poetic career. I wish you nothing but the best in your life. In your life.
Thank you, sir.
So to everybody out there listening, LaVan Robinson is the man. All right?
Thank you.
So I say good night until we meet again. Remember, let poetry ring somewhere throughout the land. Good night, LaVan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Quintessential Listening, Poetry Online Radio, is available on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. You can also check out the website at qlpor.com.